especially Move, to amend, its founders, its many volunteers, and all the other people who came here today to work on these fundamentally and vitally important issues. Corporate personhood and the disastrous Supreme Court ruling on Citizens United, both must be reversed. But today I want to emphasize what I consider the Achilles heel of the power of corporations, and namely this legal fiction that we call corporate personhood. Corporations are some of the most powerful organizations in the history of the world. It's said that about 100 largest economies on the planet. That statistic is several years old. They've grown so powerful that it's difficult indeed for even the government to control them. But I don't need to tell you that. You know that. So how can we, the common people, even hope to bring them under control? How can we have the audacity to think that we, the common people, can even confront them, these mighty corporate behemoths which stop at nothing in their quest for riches and power, which are trashing the planet, eroding our communities, and which have turned our hard-earned democratic form of government to a joke that is governed by financial plutocracy? Why? Because we have the truth on our side. How? Because the very concept of a corporation is a legal fiction. A corporation does not exist in nature. It was not made by God. It is never mentioned in the Constitution. Corporations exist in their current form in our country only because the Supreme Court of the United States says that they can exist in that form. But is the Supreme Court always right? Are they so perfect in their infinite wisdom that we should allow them to perpetuate this blatant falsehood that a corporation is equal to a human being before the law? No, we should not. And this is why. Because corporate personhood is a legal fiction with the flimsiest of foundations. It was never decided by a court decision. It was never legislated into existence by a legislature. No, it was established by hook and crook, I would say. And I think if you read the history of how it happened, that is exactly how you would describe it too. You should know it for certain that corporations were kept on a damn short leash by all state governments when they were incorporated for the first 75 years of our country's existence. Every American patriot who fought in the Revolution knew they weren't fighting just the King's Army. They were fighting against the crown-chartered corporations that operated in the American colonies on the King's behalf. So when the newly formed American states allowed a corporation to come into existence, it can only do so for a specific stated purpose and serve a specific local need for a specific period of time. Corporations could not own other corporations. And when their charter expired, the assets were divided among the shareholders and it was dissolved. And if they did not operate within the stated purpose of their charter, they were either fined or their charter revoked. Pronto. Dozens of corporations had their charters revoked in the first half of the 19th century. The young nation and its founding fathers were rightfully wary to keep the power of corporations under strict control because they knew firsthand what it meant to be dominated by giant transnational corporations such as the East Asia Company. So how did this change? It changed with the railroad companies in the aftermath of the Civil War, who began craftily using the 14th Amendment to their own legal advantage. That constitutional amendment, which helped to end the Civil War and was passed in 1868, was supposed to grant citizenship to anyone born in America and to overturn the Dred Scott decision, another astoundingly bad Supreme Court decision in 1857. Do you think that when the U.S. Congress passed the 14th Amendment, they thought they were establishing corporate personhood? I don't think so. No, to my mind, the 14th Amendment was perverted. Yes, perverted, I would say, is the right word to describe this disastrous turn of events by corporations applying the amendment to themselves as legal persons in the eyes of the law. You don't believe me? It's true. The first such Supreme Court case was Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad in 1886, when the term corporate person was first used, but not in the case itself. No, it was interjected into the court summary by a clerk. A clerk. It was never even mentioned in the Supreme Court decision itself. But once established, this precedent was set, and that is how this legal fiction got established. Corporations, mostly railroads, who aggressively pushed a conscious legal strategy to achieve it. and so it spread. Between 1886 and 1910, there were 307 cases brought before the Supreme Court regarding the 14th Amendment. 19 involved the rights of African Americans. 288 of them were corporations seeking human rights. And that, my friends, is how this legal fiction started. But is this such a bad thing, you might ask? Should we be so concerned about something so remote, this complicated legal abstraction, be of concern to us? Besides, it's been around for 125 years since 1886. How can we ever expect to reverse 125 years of corporate law? My friends and fellow Americans, it's because we have to do this. We simply have no choice. Corporations have used this legal fiction over the last 125 years to bend and shape and force and warp our entire economy. The entire legal and financial system that supports the economy, and without which it cannot operate, is an economy that exists for the health and well-being of not human beings, not for the nurturing of children, not for the sake of families and communities where human beings are meant to grow and develop, be educated and play and love. No, we have an economy that exists for the health and well-being of corporations, of General Motors, of Exxon, of Goldman Sachs, of the military-industrial complex that eats up over half of each of your tax dollar, year in and year out. Just look at each report in our economy, and you'll see why the economy exists. So I asked you, how can we, the common people, the little people, dare to stand up against these colossal economic empires? It's a dark time. Can we give up? There's been dark times before. Some people know how not to give up, such as Howard Zinn, the late great historian, who knew full well the dangers of excessive corporate power. And here's what he might say today. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but of compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only what is the worst, it destroys our capacity to do anything. But if we remember those times and places, and there are many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending the spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. Yes, my friends, reversing corporate personhood is the right thing to do. Let's get started today. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Rick. I want to let y'all know there's one site for this orange cooler back here on the table. And also, please stop by the tables back here and sign up for the organizations, the Boulder County Democrats, the Move to Amend organization, the Rocky Mountain Peace and Justice, and the Free Speech for People. Stop by at these tables back here and sign up to help. Next, we have another energy powerhouse, Diana Gale.
Getting hooked up. All right, now I'm hooked up. So I just wanted to thank you all for being here, and I am really excited that we had, in my mind, a really fabulous turnout and a really successful rally here today. And you know, a movement starts with an idea, and a couple people sit around at the kitchen table and they talk about it, and they start talking to their friends, and people start joining in, and it doesn't happen overnight. And the suffragettes, and the labor movement, and the farm workers workers movement, and the child rights movement, and the civil rights movement. And it all started with an idea, and it all started with people gathering like we are here today. And I'm so windblown. This is an issue that a lot of people are not aware of yet. I've talked to a lot of people, told them we were having this rally, tell people I'm really passionate about this issue, and they're educated, informed, involved people, and they go, what's that? So it's our job to start inviting people to our kitchen table and talking to people and having more rallies, and it'll grow as it goes along. And soon we will be but a drop in the sea of the people filling the streets, demanding that our government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Thank you for coming.
Okay. That concludes the rally. We would like to get all of you to grab a sign and come up and stand underneath of our Boulder Democratic Party sign. We want to get a picture with a bunch of activists holding signs. Okay? Now for music.